Hey, Mr. Clash here, and in this video I want to talk about the just passed Article 11, Article 13 from the European Parliament and how it relates to European clashes and their ability, or what I see as a future inability, to produce any content for Supercell games at all, and in fact any other games for that matter. So if you're not too familiar with it, it's a copyright directive initiated by the European Parliament, and the things that are really bearing down on most people is Article 11, Article 12 and Article 13, with Article 11 and 13 getting the most attention. Now, in plain speak, what Article 11 refers to colloquially is being called a link tax. So in the example of, say, you search for an item on Google and Google gives you some news-related links, little thumbnail, little headline, and you can go and click on that and go to the news site and read the article. Well, Article 11 provides that what Google would have to do to maintain that is to pay the press publication for the right to have that information there for you to click on. In other words, they would be paying the publication for permission to send people to the publication, who would then get to the publication, and the publication would then make money selling ads to that people. So that's the link tax. Now, interesting thing is that Google did do an experiment where they ran a trial as if it was only a moderate version of the implementation of Article 11, and there was a 45% reduction in people going to the news sites after doing a search. But it doesn't apply just to Google, so Twitter as well. If you posted a link on Twitter to an article, Twitter would then need to verify that you can do that. And if they can't do that, Twitter would have to pay a tax for linking to that article. So to me, the quick solution for Twitter is no links, no images. That would be it. The thing that's far worse, they're all bad, and we're going to have a look at it in a second, is Article 13. Article 13 puts the onus on YouTube, Twitter, and any other upload place that you might go to prove or verify that you as the uploader have permission to upload that copyrighted material. Okay, so what that means is YouTube would not make your video available until they could verify that you have Supercell's permission to upload a video of Supercell's intellectual property, which is, of course, the game. But it doesn't just apply to the game. If you did a review article, if you read through an article that appeared in a paper about Supercell, then that's a press publications article. YouTube would need to verify that you have permission from the press to do your review of their article, because in that article you would be showing different pieces of what they created, which is their article, while you reviewed it. If you reviewed a Supercell toy, you would need Supercell's permission, because the toy is their intellectual property, their creation. You would need Supercell's permission to do a video toy review and upload it, and then once you could prove it to YouTube, YouTube would make your video available. So let's have a look at Supercell's fan policy, then we'll have a look at Article 11 and 12 and 13 and have a little bit of a discussion about that as well. So the thing that's really important in Supercell's fan policy is this little highlighted piece here, essentially saying we're okay with you using our content, our intellectual property, or our asset as we refer to it, as long as you follow some certain guidelines and as long as you put this at the bottom. This content is not affiliated with, endorsed, sponsored, or specifically approved by Supercell, and Supercell is not responsible for it. Okay, but under this new directive, YouTube would need specific approval that it's okay for you to do that, upload that copyrighted work. Now let's have a look at the directive itself. So this is a rather long document here. What I will do is I'll provide the link to this document, you can read it yourself, and the link to the Supercell fan policy in the description below, so you can check out the fan policy yourself. You can check out these articles yourself. Now, the difficulty with some of these articles is they do refer to previous articles further up the page. So you can see here with Article 11, it talks about Article 2 and 3, then it talks about Article 5 to 8. And this is the directive that we're talking about. So it needs to be read in conjunction with some other things. Essentially, though, this Article 11 is saying that this is a link tax here. So you cannot have the right to exploit their works. So providing a link, a little thumbnail, that's exploiting a work. Article 12, most people haven't talked about Article 12, but it's also really important because it talks about where an author has transferred or licensed a right to a publisher, and then such a transfer or a license constitutes a sufficient legal basis for the publisher to claim a share of compensation for the use of the work. So the publisher gets a share of compensation for the use of the work. Okay, so I did a video ages ago where I talked about Supercell's delving into esports as I predicted, and I showed a picture of Supercell CEO meeting with the CEO of Tencent. So I had the picture of those two meeting. So at that moment, I am using the work of someone else. And if the photographer has transferred rights of the image he took to the publication that I got that image from, whatever the publication is, then that publication can have a share of compensation of any money my video makes. Or I cannot upload it without that publication's permission to say, oh, look who I saw over here. So that's Article 12. Article 12 is also not too crash hot. Then we come to Article 13, and the thing that really matters the most here is this little bit that I've just highlighted, and that is information society service providers that store and provide to the public access to large amounts of works or other subject matter uploaded to their users. That's YouTube, Twitter. Shall, in cooperation with right holders, take measures to ensure the functioning of agreements concluded with right holders for the use of their works. In other words, YouTube needs to make sure you have an agreement to use the work or other subject matter, or if not, to prevent the availability on their services of the work. So if you're in that, so we can go off that. So what that means is, if you're in the EU and this comes into pass, YouTube has to verify that before they will allow you to make your video available, that you have permission from Supercell for that work you're just about to upload. Right? Now, we just saw the content policy said Supercell does not specifically approve. So we've got a contradiction from Supercell's fan policy to what the new copyright directive is going to say. If YouTube cannot verify that you have specific permission to upload that video, YouTube won't make your video available. Conversely, for people outside of the EU, YouTube cannot make your videos available to people in the EU unless you can provide permission, proof to YouTube that your video is allowed in the EU and won't infringe upon the copyright within the EU. So seeing as that is a big can of worms all within the EU, it will not surprise me whatsoever if YouTube simply says if you're in the EU, you can't upload anything, and if you're outside of the EU, your videos will not be available in the EU. Just like right now, depending on if you're in a certain country, there are certain videos, music videos you can't view because your country's music system doesn't have an agreement with YouTube to allow that video content in. So some countries have a restriction on where videos can and cannot be viewed. I predict the easiest thing for YouTube to do will simply be block the availability of all gaming, all related, all review, movie review, game review, article reviews into the European Union countries. And as far as uploading goes, it's impossible for YouTube and the content creators to prove they own every verifiable thing. And it's not just on YouTube. If you upload a video that you want to tweet the video out, then Twitter needs to prove that you have permission to use the thumbnail that's going to appear when you do that. And you would then need to also prove to Twitter that you have the rights to use the thumbnail image that you're tweeting out with your thing, and that you aren't infringing on a copyright as well. So the onus is being put on Twitter, the onus is being put on Google and YouTube to verify the copyrights of everything that is going to be uploaded. Okay, now, but that's not the end of it, because to the person in Europe might say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to get a VPN. Well, apart from the issue of the EU in the future making VPNs illegal, Supercell has specifically said don't use a VPN, otherwise just don't use one. Not going to get into too many technicalities. You might get done for account sharing if you use a VPN. Now, obviously, if you cannot verify that you have Supercell's permission to upload into YouTube, let's say you're a streamer out of Europe and you're going to opt for a VPN, and YouTube will happily accept that. However, you then run the risk of having an account ban because of account sharing. So this is a whole big can of worms. And to make it worse, each of the 28 member states have to implement it how they see fit, which means there's potentially 28 different ways that those countries want to filter what's going up to YouTube and what YouTube can allow into the country. And then YouTube would have to then start to apply 28 different filters across. To me, it's just going to be easier for YouTube to just say, I'm done with Europe. No one uploads, no one downloads. And if you think you can find an alternative platform, all alternative platforms will also be subject to the same rules and regulations. So that's my take on it. I don't see a very good future for any clashes in Europe for getting content out of Europe that is going to be shown into Europe at all. I'm not too confident, but hey, that's what I've got for this video. Now it's your turn to tell me what you think. Do you think I'm over-exaggerating the situation? Do you think that none of this will come to pass really, that the individual countries and the populations will just cause such a furore within each individual country about the potential restriction of their internet that the local countries will just say to the EU Parliament, we're not going to do that because this is just going to be too dreadful? Or do you think I'm over-exaggerating, or that YouTube and Twitter will find a way to get around it, or what? Just let me know what you think in the description below. Let's get a conversation started about this. Share this around to as many people as you can, because no one's talking about this, and yet it could greatly affect the game. There's nothing on the Supercell forums about this yet, because I'm not sure everybody even knows. Supercell obviously isn't going to know too much until the Finnish government starts to implement it, and what that means from Supercell's point of view within Finland, and each of the other countries will have their own ways to implement it. But anyway, that's it. I'm not a fan of what's just happened. I don't see the future of Clash videos or any gaming videos, reviews, or anything like that having much of a future anymore in the EU due to this inability of YouTube, Twitter, and other upload platforms to be able to verify that you have copyright permission to use anything. So do please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.